Hi, welcome to another episode of Marriage on a Tightrope. I'm Katie, and I am doing a solo episode, and we're still married. It is odd. I've never done the solo episode thing before, but I wanted to also give my 6 tips on supporting your unbelieving spouse. Here we go with tip number 1. Allow your spouse to be a part of groups that help them. Early on, I had someone that said to me, gosh, do you just hate that your husband is in the subreddit ex-Mormon? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was on his computer one day and I saw the tab for the ex-Mormon subreddit group, and I was really surprised that he had been on it. And I clicked on it, and, there's just some really polarizing views there and a lot of anger there. And so I was really upset when I found out that he had been on this group site. And then as time went on, he also told me about some of the Facebook groups he was on also. I remember one general conference, he was in a chat group with a bunch of people, and as the general conference was streaming live, he and this group were just constantly chatting about what was being said. And I got ticked at him. I was super mad because I felt like you should just, if you have something to say, you should say it to me. Now in hindsight, I know that I couldn't have listened to what he had said, because I know that as soon as he said something, I would clam up and I would become defensive and I would double down on things. Now, having been through this for not quite some time, but a couple years, I realized that I could not mentally be there for my spouse when he needed it, when he needed to say things that he was feeling hurt about, when he wanted to talk about ideas. I could not be the person to do it. And these Reddit groups, these Facebook groups, they were there for him. And I actually was really grateful for that. And now I feel grateful for it because they were there when I couldn't be. Allow your spouse to find a network of people to be supportive to, that he can meet with, he can chat with online. I mean, of course, in the parameters that you both set, and in I don't know how to put it, in a very respectful way, but make sure that they have someone. Just as much as you need a cheerleader and you need support, they need that also. So that would be my first piece of advice. Okay, number 2, your spouse is hurting just as much as you are. I have said a lot of harsh things during this process, and my spouse has said a lot of harsh things. But I think one thing that I realize is, Allan never did this to hurt me. And he was hurting at a time where I felt like I was the victim. I felt like everything was happening to me and nothing was happening to them. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth. He was hurting as well. We're both grieving for different things. He's grieving for a loss of spirituality, a loss of identity, and you're grieving for the life that you wish or you thought you would have. Those expectations of your future together is gone in that way. And so my advice is to grieve together and share in the hurt. When you're hurting and he's hurting, just recognize that you both are in the same place for different reasons. I finished a great book called Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. If you haven't listened to it, it's just excellent. But there's a lot of talk of this idea of sitting in your pain. And, really sitting in your pain means feeling that discomfort, feeling that pain that you both are going through, but then moving on from that together. Where there is growth, there is discomfort and there is pain. And as long as you're moving forward, that discomfort is okay. That's an emotion that we need to feel and we need to know, and help each other, really. Number 3, patience. Okay, this, as you know, takes so much patience. be as patient as you can going through this. There's an array of emotions, and it's a process. When Allan went through an angry phase, and some may say, like, did you even go through an angry phase? He did. He went through an angry phase. There were a lot of really angry feelings and hurtful things that came out. And I was great sometimes at being patient, and other times I was not. But you have to understand that they're going through the grieving process, and anger is going to be part of it. As long as you show your spouse love, and, I think that not having fear about what they're experiencing, and you don't want them to feel anger, you don't want them to be upset. These are like normal emotions that they have to go through. So patience is key. I did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of praying that really helped my patience. And I felt like I was pretty patient for a while. There were times where I would blow up and I wasn't as patient with some of the other things that he told me. But anyway, patience is a virtue. If you can just be as patient and kind and loving as possible, that will be so helpful and so much appreciated to your spouse. Number 4, allow your spouse to respectfully speak their truth. Okay, so this is a hard one, and I think this is a more recent one. Allan, he is, I think all of you know, he's a really awesome, really trying to build bridges type of guy. I do not like to cause pain or hurt or discomfort to anyone. And in that, I think sometimes Allan really likes to build bridges, and he does it in a way that will cause people discomfort. And I'm specifically talking about Facebook. He puts a lot of opinions on Facebook, both in our Marriage on a Tightrope group and as well as in his own personal feed. And that personal feed is full of my loved ones and my friends. And I know that they read what he says, and it's hard on them. It can be hard sometimes for me to read it, which I'm actually not on Facebook, but he a lot of times will show me what he posts and the comments. It's just so that I know. But I can't tell him, don't post. I can't tell him, stop speaking about this with anyone. That's not my place, and I would never want to do it, because he would wither and die. Honestly, he has the right to speak his own truth, just like I have the right to speak mine. And I may disagree with the manner and way which he does it. That's neither here nor there. But let him or let her, whoever your spouse is, speak their truth to those around them. But make sure it's done in a respectful way. And as long as you both are respectful, when you talk to your kids, maybe, I absolutely will let my spouse speak their truth about what they agree with the church and what they don't agree with. That's their place. They can say that. But as long as it's done in a respectful way, I think that it can be a really positive thing for you and your kids. Also, when speaking to each other, sometimes it's hard to hear what Allan has to say to me about his own truth. And when he takes the emotion out of it and he's talking to me in a kind way so that I can understand. And I think that's the key, right? I really try to seek for understanding. And when I go into it with that mindset, then you can have respect on both sides and not have these discussions that are so emotionally charged. As much as you can, let your spouse speak their truth, whatever that may be, but just in a respectful way. And if you can both decide on how that should be done, great, more power to you. Number 5, try to be flexible. I feel like so much of what I have believed about my Sundays or about church or about, quite a lot of things actually, my views have changed over time. And I don't see this as a bad thing. This isn't negative. I see it more as a broadening of my understanding, just being able to be more flexible. So let me give you an example. Today in church, they're talking about proclamation of the family. And Allan was extremely hesitant and worried about that, and specifically our kids being taught that. And so he said, I'm worried about this Sunday. What should we do? And I said, let's have Allan church. So today we got up, he made us breakfast. We created a giant candy bar poster for my brother-in-law who's turning 40. And so we did that as a little service. And then we wrote notes to this sweet old lady who left our neighborhood and moved into a senior living center, and went and got her some flowers and took it over to her. I think before I wouldn't have been as flexible. I would have felt like this would be something that was off limits or we shouldn't have done, because traditionally you go to church on Sunday and this is how it is and this is how it should be. But I could understand enough of his concern to know that, let's just try something different, and that's okay. And there are ways that you can be flexible in not obeying maybe the letter of the law, but more of the spirit of the law in what works for your family. It doesn't work for everyone, but it may work for your family. And along those lines, just know that you can change your mind about things. If you learn something or your spouse tells you something and you start feeling differently, it's okay to change your mind. It doesn't take away from your testimony, and it doesn't take away from who you are, but you can just look at it again as a broadening and expanding your mind and being able to see and feel things in a different way. I mean, I can tell you that is a really, really wonderful thing. Okay, my last tip is to ask your spouse what they need to feel loved. And when I say this, I think this goes both ways, so maybe this is twofold for both of you, but this is a really scary time that you're going through. And I think sometimes because of the uncertainty that you feel and the uncertainty that your spouse feels about your future, you can have kind of a crisis of wondering where you stand in your spouse's eyes and where your spouse stands in your eyes. And Allan has always been like a pleaser. He has always wanted to just make me happy and always wanted me to feel safe and loved. And I realized that in the beginning, when all of these things were happening and he came out to me and he was telling me his opinion and he was feeling angry, I wasn't loving back. I didn't worry about what he was feeling. I was just worried about what I felt. And I know that caused him a lot of pain and really anxiety within himself to thinking like, oh my gosh, she going to leave me? Is she going to want me anymore? We talk about like love languages, or we talk about the anagram, the type of personality you are and why you act the way you do. Those are all good and well, but when it comes down to it, there were specific things that Allan needed from me. He needed me to tell him, to give him verbal confirmation and affirmations. And he needed me to show him that I loved him despite the hard things that were happening. Be vulnerable with your spouse. Ask him or her, what is it that they need from you for them to feel secure and loved? Because it goes both ways. They're hurting. They want your love. They want your respect. And there are things that we can absolutely do in order to help them. Anyway, those are the things that have been on my mind. I hope that one, or maybe none of these tips are actually helpful to you. I know that if you really think about what your spouse needs during this time, you'll be able to come up with your own list. Maybe it's not my list, and that's fine. Maybe you can find your own list and ways of being supportive to your spouse and in a way that they need. And hopefully this was helpful. You can follow us on Instagram at Marriage on a Tightrope. You can join our Facebook group that Allan's in charge of, and it's Marriage on a Tightrope. And also you could email us, and we are marriageandtightrope@gmail.com. We are excited. We have a few interviews coming up. One with Natasha Helfer Parker and another one with Richard Osler. And he has the podcast Listen, Learn, and Love. Both really excellent speakers, so I'm excited for that. Last night we had a really cool experience. We went to the Saturday Salon, and Margaret Toscano and her husband Paul were both there, and it was just incredible. The people that came and put it on, really, we got to listen to Margaret, and then we had a roundtable discussion, and it was extremely fascinating. And I think we found a good group of community and people. So there'll be another Saturday Salon that they'll do. We're hoping to do one maybe once a month. So we will get more information out to you. If you would like to be a part of that and join us, we would love to have you. We always love meeting more of you out there who feel the same way as us. Until next time.